Welcome to another episode of the brand called You, a video and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Today, I'm privileged to welcome a very, very accomplished sports person from Kolkata currently, Saurav Ghosal. Saurav, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Saurav is a squash player. He is the first Indian to have won the Drysdale Cup at the British Junior Open. He's been the national champion 13 times and he's an Arjuna Award winner. What an amazing journey you've had, Saurav. Tell me, what would you say are three key milestones in your life or your career?
You obviously started this interview off on a very hard question because it's very difficult to kind of pick, three considering the career.
Given all the recognitions, but
yeah. But I think in my mindset, I've always kind of thought about what I've done on the world stage, and that's been most dear to me. Mm-hmm. So I think to begin with winning the British Junior Open in 2004, that almost announced my arrival onto the scene in a lot of ways. Announced the arrival of Indian squash in a lot of ways, because after that a lot of people actually started believing that we could actually go to these events and actually win and not just be also rans. So I think that kind of changed the perception of Indian squash a little bit. So the British Junior Open in 2004. Moving on from that, I think the team gold medal at the 2014 Asian Games. Wow. I think that was and it still is my most dear memory of my entire career. Because ever since I was a kid, everyone dreams of being world champion, world number one. Of course, those dreams are still with me, but I've always had this thing that I want to win something big as part of a team for India. Because I've always felt that if I'm doing it as part of a team, that means it's not just me. There are others who are on the same bandwagon and doing really well for the country. Correct. And for us to do it at the Asian Games, which is a big deal for squash and for us in general, and to do it in the way we did it, because we'd been so close, in the preceding 4 to 6 years, but fallen agonizingly short on numerous occasions. But to win that was huge. And then also personally for me to come back from the massive disappointment of the loss in the individual final after being match ball up 4 days before the team final, and to win it and win the gold and win the first historic gold for India was huge. So I think that will always stay with me. No matter what I go on to achieve, that will always stay with me as one of my most cherished memories of my squash career. Finally, making top 10 in the world in 2019. Wow. I think that's something that has always been with me ever since I've been a junior. I've always wanted to break that barrier to make top 10, because I feel like once you make top 10, you're there or thereabouts, and then you can really push on to achieve that almost far-fetched goal of being world number one. Of course, you need to have short-term goals, so it's about getting in the top 8, top 5, and then obviously the world number one. But that top 10 mental barrier is a huge thing. So to kind of do it, and also with the way I did it, I made the quarterfinals of the World Championships for the second time. So it's almost like I kind of earned my place in that group of players. Yes. So I think, if I had to pick three, although it's super hard, but I guess I'd pick those three.
You're amazing, absolutely amazing. So Saurav, now let's talk about your squash career. My first question to you is that you're probably a millennial or maybe younger. Young people like you have all taken to cricket. And when all your contemporaries were playing cricket, what made you select squash?
So I used to play cricket as well. I actually trained at the Arjuna Cricket Academy in Calcutta till I was 13 very seriously. I played squash seriously as well at the same time. And how the Indian education system works. I go into class 9 and the pressure of academics gets to you. And it's very difficult to do the academics as well as do sports very seriously. So I kind of had to make a decision at that time as to what I wanted to really pursue. And I remember, the thing that really stood out for me with regards to squash was that I felt the happiest in the day when I was on the squash court, whether I was playing with someone or whether I was playing by myself, I just felt the most excitement to get on there. I
Mm,
still love cricket. I loved it back then as well.
mm,
But I also felt that cricket's a team sport. Squash is an individual sport,
mm,
and I just like the idea of controlling my destiny and having it in my own hands,
mm,
rather than leaving it to 10 other people on the team. Because
mm,
there were days when we used to play matches and I used to play fantastically well and we
mm,
used to lose,
mm,
and there used to be days when I used to play terribly and
mhm.
we used to win.
Okay.
So I mean, of course, that's the beauty of team sport, and
Mm,
I think that's a great facet of that game, of those types of games. But I just like the idea of having to deal with the consequences of my own performances by myself. Sounds, when I say it, it sounds terrible because you're thinking like you have to deal with so much.
yeah.
But at that time, I think that's what kind of kept me in the love of playing and enjoying the sport, as well as having that control over my own destiny, and doing what I could do. And also maybe somewhere deep down, I wanted to break barriers. I wanted
Mm,
to do something which hadn't been done before. I wanted to be the first to do it,
mm.
and I think squash gave me that opportunity and the challenge at the same time. So
Amazing.
maybe that's why.
Amazing. So, 30 years ago, I used to play a lot of amateur squash, and I know you need a very high level of fitness. Uh, you are in the top 10, and you won all kinds of recognition all over the world. What kind of fitness levels do you need as compared to other sports?
A lot of people ask me this question. A lot of people actually go straight to the point and say, "Is squash the hardest sport to play?"
Hmm.
See, look, I'm very diplomatic in when it comes to answering that question, because I feel whenever you're at the top of any sport,
Mm,
you need to be physically very, very good.
correct.
I think every sport has its unique challenges, and you need to train based on those challenges and make yourself the best you can be
Mhm,
in those kind of parameters.
mhm,
Of course, squash is brutal. A lot of the sessions that we do, whilst I'm doing it, I'm thinking to myself, what am I doing to myself? Like, why am I doing this?
mm,
Like, I'm just insane. But you get through it, and it's all worth it when you actually produce what you produce on the big stage.
mm,
I think it's a question of, like I said, understanding what we need to do to produce our best on the squash court. So everything that I do in conjunction with my physical trainer who lives in Philadelphia,
mhm,
like, we try and kind of connect it to the game. So we wouldn't be doing things just purely because we want to get fit. We want to get fit because we can hit the ball better, or get to the ball better, or deal with situations when it's 9 all in the fifth, and
mhm,
it's 1.5 hours into the match.
mm,
I think a good example of something that squash really is very unique to squash is that we have to go like every like 20-30 seconds. Rallies generally last between 20 seconds to a minute 20, minute and a half, and then you go quickly again after 10 seconds. So it's about being able to recover really
mm,
quickly. There's a lot of speed involved, but it's a lot of speed endurance as well, because you need to do it over a long period of time.
mm,
We lunge a lot. I don't think any other sport you lunge as much.
mm.
If I remember correctly, they did like kind of like an experiment on a big PSA match, and in about 60 minutes, the two players lunged about 7 to 8 kilometers.
Wow.
So if you compare that to, like, let's say football, when they are playing over 90 minutes, they run like the best players run about 12 to 13 kilometers. But
Mm,
just imagine lunging like 6 to 7 kilometers. I mean, that's a lot of work.
yeah.
But again, footballers are supremely fit.
Mm,
Badminton players are supremely fit.
correct.
Some of the things that they do, like jumping up and down to smash.
Mm,
Like, I wouldn't be that good at it, because
mm,
that's not what my body is used to, because we don't do it as much. But I would be better probably at going forwards and backwards, and dealing with that kind of challenges thrown at me. So I think it's wrong to say for any sport really that we are the hardest sport to play. I
sure.
think every sport has its challenges. But yeah, for sure, squash is hard, and
Mm.
that's part of the beauty of playing the sport and the challenge of it, and that's what keeps us
Very
all going.
interesting. You've given not a diplomatic answer, but you've given an amazingly honest answer. Addressing how what fitness levels are needed across every sport. Fantastic. So, sort of now tell me, when you are going for one of these really top matches, like when you're going for the Asian Gold or, other very, very big matches. How do you prepare yourself mentally? I mean, physically, I'm sure you are in peak form, but mentally, I'm told that's a very important part of the game.
I mean, just before you're going in, the mental aspect of it is probably more important than the physical side of it,
Hmm.
because the physical side of it and the technical side of it, you've already done, whatever you had to do in training in the preceding time.
Hmm.
The mental side of it is what, makes you produce what you're capable of
Hmm.
at the point when you need it. I think everyone has different ways of dealing with it.
Hmm.
For me, I think what I try and do is that I try and accept that yes, this is a big time. This is a big match. This is a big week. It's something that I've been working towards for a very very long time.
Hmm.
But I also kind of feel that there's no point me feeling super nervous. You need a little bit of nervousness because that's good for you, but not super nervous or feeling an insane amount of pressure, because this is what I've trained for. This is the opportunity I've wanted to show what I'm capable of. So I can train really hard, but if I don't produce what I want to produce at this time, then it's of no use. So I'm privileged and lucky to be able to have the opportunity to play at this level in on big stages, so that I can win the Asian Gold,
Hmm.
or get to the quarters of the World Championships, or beat the world number one. If I'm so scared of that pressure, then I'm never going to have that opportunity. And if I don't have that opportunity, then I'm never actually going to be able to achieve anything of note. So I think that almost the carrot at the end of the tunnel, almost, or the light at the end of the tunnel, is what keeps me going, and kind of pushes me towards almost trying to enjoy the moment, the day, and realize and accept that this is not going to happen all through my life.
Hmm.
I know that once I finish, I'm not going to feel a high that I feel out of competing on the biggest stages, and I want to enjoy it as much as I can till the time I have left.
Amazing, amazing. So tell me, why is squash not such a popular game in our country? I mean, is it because of infrastructure?
See, I think over the last 10 years or so, I think squash has definitely improved in terms of where it's going. I think the trend is definitely upward. But yeah, I agree, it's not a mass sport in India at this point in time. I think there are a few reasons for it. One, I think we're still struggling to get in to the grassroots level into schools. I think that is the most important thing, to get into schools, because once you get into schools, then obviously the kids get involved, and then the parents get involved, and we all know how important parents are as part of an ecosystem for sport in India, because you need their support and their backing to kind of pursue it. So I think getting into schools is very important, and that's something that the national federation, the state federations, and the sports ministry need to really look into to kind of get it there.
Mhm.
The other thing I think is that we're not on live television in India enough. I think television is the most powerful medium in the world today in terms of popularizing anything. And I think that's extremely important. And I know that federations around the world are pushing really hard to get it on TV as much as possible. But it's a tough place to be in, because there are so many sports, so many other different types of content vying for the same place. So I think we're trying to do that. But like I said, things are improving. I think success breeds success. So I think over the last 5 to 10 years, what this generation of squash players has done, which I like to call the golden generation of Indian squash, I think has helped get people involved in the sport a lot more, because they feel like, yes, we can actually be at the top of the tree if we put our minds to it. So I think hopefully we can push forward with that, and I think the whole ecosystem has to move with it. So it's our responsibility as players to keep producing top results, so that the admin side of things can piggyback almost on those results, and push the other sides of the ecosystem to greater lengths.
Fascinating. So, when I was reading about you and squash, I was fascinated to find that, Pakistan, the Khans, dominated the sport between the 80s and the 90s. Egypt is currently dominating it. And it what got me thinking, I mean, countries which are not really known for most other sports, Pakistan maybe for cricket, Egypt maybe for soccer. What is it that they're doing differently that they're dominating such an intense sport like squash?
Look, I mean, it's kind of sad with Pakistan right now because obviously they had, I mean, they have such an amazing tradition. You probably say two of the greatest players ever in Jahangir and Janshir. Janshir came from there. But like in any sport, every country goes through cycles, and they had this unbelievable period of 20, 30 years where they were absolutely dominating everything. And now it's kind of moved on to Egypt, like you mentioned. With Egypt, I think I have a better idea as to why they're doing what they're doing. I think to begin with, it's a question of numbers. The probability of producing champions when you have that many numbers is a lot higher. So just to give you an example, India has a lot of kids playing, and in the junior nationals in India, we have somewhere between 700 to 900 entries every year, which is a lot compared to when I used to play junior nationals. It used to be like 250. So that's where we've improved. But when you compare that to Egypt, when you have a local club event for juniors, you have 900 players.
Amazing.
So that's just the local club. It's not even the nationals. It's not even like a city tournament. So I think that's where the numbers kind of play their part. Also, they've kind of managed to break through and produce a world champion, a world number one, and kids are watching these top players every single day in training, and sometimes the older kids get on court with them as well, and on a daily basis they kind of get an idea or they understand the benchmark as to how good they need to be world number one or world champion, and that makes a huge difference. You can watch a million videos, but to watch someone live doing what they're doing, not just on court but off court as well, is an impression that you cannot create through video. Also, like there's an interesting story. The current world champion, he's Egyptian, but he's world number 3, and he's a very good friend of mine. Like we got through juniors. His name's Tarek Momin, and I remember we were sharing a room in Switzerland once, like a few years back. This before he was world champion. He was still 3 in the world at that time, and he was telling me, like me being 3 in the world, no one cares about me in Egypt because I'm 3 in Egypt. They're only going to care if I'm number 1, and to be number 1, I have to be world number 1. So it's almost like, that weight of expectation kind of pushes them forward a lot more. And people who can't deal with that expectation obviously fall by the wayside. But if you can deal with that pressure and the burden of that expectation, generally you're going to be so strong to kind of come through a lot of other kind of turmoils in your career, that you kind of produce some top performances through your career to be the best player that you can be. And I think that's important in a lot of ways to produce the best. And that's why you see that countries which have very good players in the same sport generally keep producing good players as well, because that kind of pushes everyone together. The competition pushes everyone together.
Wonderful. So one more question about squash before I move to the next segment. And this is a question that, I'd like to be able to send to a lot of corporates,
Right.
And my question is, what does it cost to set up a top world-class squash court?
I mean, look, I think you have to look at putting together at least a 3 or 4 court complex to really be able to have some sort of a program running, a good level program. In terms of basic infrastructure, when you're taking into account even the building, and you want to put in, especially in India because it's so warm, you want to put in an air conditioning system and all of that. I would say a budget of 1 CR would really cut it.
Would get you 3 courts.
3 to 4. Yeah, so you would definitely be able to do it in 1 CR with the building and top of the line, really. You can do it for cheaper, but I'm talking about good ones because you want to produce whatever. And then obviously there are running costs after that. Infrastructure is one kind of pillar of producing a top level program. I think the other pillar, which is also very important and which we lack a lot in India, is expertise and the quality of coaches. So I think it's important to kind of look into that and kind of deal with that in with a lot of care, because expertise is very important to teach the kids at a very young age what they should and shouldn't be doing with every facet of their game.
Very interesting. So I'm now going to move to a few questions for you personally. We have time
Yeah.
for maybe 2 or 3 questions. My first question to you is sort of, playing at the highest level, and you are in the top 10 in 2019. I'm assuming 2020 hasn't come out because of COVID. Uh, and, I'm sure, you will keep climbing up. But from the stage at which you are at now, having won so much, having recognized so much, what does success mean to Saurav?
So it's interesting, I think about this, and when I'm talking to some kids, I actually talk to them about this as well.
Mhm.
I mean, it kind of ties into also the question as to why I'm still playing at 34. And the two things that really jump out at me when I think about it is, one, I love the high of competing.
Mhm.
Competing on the biggest stage is success in itself.
Mhm.
You've earned that right to do what you love doing
Mhm.
on the biggest stage the world can offer to you at this point in time.
Mhm.
So that is success in itself, and that gives you happiness,
Mhm.
and happiness is success.
Mhm.
The other thing is, every now and then, you hit the perfect shot.
Mhm.
It doesn't happen every day.
Mhm.
It might happen once in the week. It might happen twice in the same session.
Mhm.
But when you do hit it, you know it straight away, and that satisfaction of feeling, that you've hit the perfect shot under pressure because you're playing with people, that gives me immense happiness and immense satisfaction. So I think success is tied to happiness. I think if you're not happy with what you're doing, whether you're winning or losing, I think over a period of time it'll break down. I think if you can make sure that whatever you're doing, whether it be the process of getting ready in terms of training for your big event, or actually playing the event and being happy playing that event,
Mhm.
and obviously going on to win, obviously that helps in the happiness quotient. Then I think you've had success, and it's important to always, at least for me, to tie it to happiness, because I know the day I feel like I'm not happy enough doing this, I'm going to stop. So happiness is, I think, the most important kind of quotient in terms of measuring success.
Very interesting. My next question is that, you keep pushing yourself to achieve more and more. What inspires you?
I mean, I don't know, to be honest. I think it's a
Mhm.
very intrinsic want and need to do more. Ever since I've been young, India hasn't had the richest tradition in the
Mhm.
sport. I remember when I was young, just starting out on the professional tour.
Mhm.
Everyone used to ask me, can you make top 50? And then I made top 50, and then everyone was like, can you make top 30? And then I made top 30, and then everyone was like, can you make top 20? And the goalposts keep shifting depending on what you achieve.
Correct.
But that doesn't take you to those new goalposts. It's what you create in your own system. So in a lot of ways, I've tried to create that pressure of expectation for myself, and that's difficult. It's difficult to kind of keep doing it, year in, year out, day in, day out, to kind of tell yourself that, yeah, okay, I'm 13 in the world. That's not good enough yet. I want to be 5, or I want to be 8.
Okay.
And I think that's in a lot of ways also kept me grounded and humble in a lot of ways, because I feel like, yes, okay, I might be Indian number 1 for however many years, but when I do retire, people, I don't think, are going to remember how many national titles I won. They're probably going to remember, if I stop my career today, they're probably going to remember the Asian Gold and the British Junior Open, and that I made top 10 in the world. And obviously, if I can make top 5, they're going to remember that. That's what's the first thing that's going to go beside my name when people talk about me. So I think that's what keeps me going, and I'm glad that I have that kind of insatiable need to do more. And I think that's very important with anyone who wants to be a super high achiever.
Fantastic. Saurav, thank you very much. This has been such an amazing conversation. I just loved your last comment, about the perfect shot, and I was trying to relate it to my amateur game of golf. And I know
Yeah.
I hit a perfect shot every 6 months, but it keeps taking me back to the golf course repeatedly. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it has been such an amazing experience and learning for me talking to you about squash. And I
No, no,
sincerely hope I'll see you in the top 5 very soon. Good luck.
I hope so too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.